Hi, my name's Katie Camp. I'm one of the librarians at the Lexington Public Library's Tate's Creek branch, and I'm here today to talk to you about a variety of teen fiction that's been published within the past year or so. These are books that are appropriate for grades about 7 to 12, although, frankly, if you're an adult, you can read them as well. They're just as good for adults as they are for kids. I have a selection here of dystopian literature. Dystopian literature is essentially post-apocalyptic. Something horrible has gone wrong with the world. We're all in a cataclysmic environment. Think Hunger Games when you're thinking post-apocalyptic dystopian literature. These are all involving worlds in which something major has gone wrong, and society has decided that this is the way we're going to fix it. The fix is not usually a good idea. This is quite the selection, and there's even more out there. Under the Never Sky, which is by Veronica Rossi, this is a girl who's been exiled from her own society and is out in the wastelands and is picked up by the people who live out there. And of course, her world and their world have never combined before, but she's discovering whole new ways of danger and breathtaking adventure. The next one, I actually just finished this last night. I should have been asleep, but I had to finish it. It's the Dustlands sequence, and it is by Moira Young. This is Rebel Heart, and it is the sequel to Blood Red Road. In Blood Red Road, we find the main character of Saba, who her brother has been kidnapped, taken by evil, maniacal men for whatever purpose, and she vows to go get them. I'm not a Western fan, but this was completely a Western. I thought of Mad Max. There's also cage fighting involved, so I think Mad Max is an apt description. It's a very rough and rocky land that they live in. Environmental devastation has been wrought upon the land, and trying to survive and trying to determine who gets to survive in this land is a great theme in this book. This is Insurgent, which is the sequel to Divergent by Veronica Roth. Divergent was actually her first book, which is very exciting. In fact, I think several of these are first books. And in this world, you can choose the life that you want, but really it's been preordained for you. You really don't deviate from that. Well, except when you do. And society doesn't know how to handle those who have more than one vision of what their future might be. And this is very action-packed. I'd recommend it for upper middle school and definitely high school. It's one of those that I think boys will like just as well as girls. It is highly, Divergent especially was violent without being ridiculously bloody. It wasn't as graphic as it could be, but there was lots of jumping off of trains and potentially plummeting to your death, and hopefully not. This just continues some of the mayhem. This is Pandemonium by Laura and Oliver. It's the sequel to Delirium. And in this series, the government chooses your mate, and in fact chooses You can choose to have all emotion and all love stripped from yourself, because with love comes trouble and hardship and possibly pain. It's much easier without all of those, or maybe not. I think that any of these would be a good choice for anybody who's looking for something new and edgy, and they already have the Hunger Games. Everybody has already bought them, the Hunger Games. They already know all about it. These, you will be the cool adult in their life who knew all about Pandemonium. The next I have on the table is The Drowned Cities, which is the sequel to Shipbreaker. These are by Paolo Bacigalupi. Shipbreaker won the Prince Award, which is an award for excellence in teen literature. This is set in a world in which cataclysmic storms have wreaked havoc upon the earth, and big oil is no longer. In fact, people are living a very hard scrabble existence, and this is their rough and tumble way of life. The next I have is Unholy, which is Neil Shusterman's follow-up to Unwind, in which if your parents choose, by the age you turn 16, if your parents choose that you haven't really been what you're cut out to be, they can unwind you and use you for parts for the next child to come along, which frankly is just creepy. There is a lot to be disturbing in the dystopian world. It's, well, something horrible has happened, and that's kind of, well, it kind of mirrors being a teenager. Being a teenager is you against the world, and the world not quite understanding you, and you not quite understanding the world. These are just different interpretations of what kind of messed up world you're living in. Hopefully, you're not living in any of these. Next, I think I'm going to talk about some fantasy books, and these are straight fantasy. These are not the world is going to end. They don't involve elves or trolls or anything like that, but they are definitely fantasy novels. Liar's Moon is the sequel to Star-Crossed by Elizabeth C. Bunce. This would actually be very appropriate for probably a girl, although there's a little bit of intrigue that a guy might like, but I think that there's a little more of the romance. This would be something for somebody who is also a little bit interested in historical fiction, because this particular world involves court intrigue and definitely lots of spying and armies after each other, and who's going to win. And she is a thief and a spy, and has been able to infiltrate some of the highest society as well as the lowest. And there are definitely prices on heads and lots of scrambling over rooftops. So it was fun, and just a little bit of romance to get you. Well, actually, there's a lot of romance in this one, but they're definitely a fun, good, straight fantasy book. The next one is actually Graceling, and this was not published within this last year, and you can find this in paperback, so you should go get it. Mostly because it's perhaps one of the best fantasies I've read within the past 5 years. It's by Kristen Kershaw, and it is the first in a series. I do not know if she intends more. I would highly recommend that she write a lot. In this one, there are people who have graces. Some of them have the grace of cooking the best meal you've ever eaten. Some of them have the grace of woodwork, where they can create something out of just a scrap of lumber. She has the grace of killing. Unfortunately, this grace is known to, say, her king, who utilizes her in many instances. Does she like it? No, she does not. Not at all. In fact, their escape seems to be one of her only options. This was the start of a magnificent sequence. Graceling was the first. Fire is a companion novel and involves beasts and creatures that are human in character, but also have beautiful bird-like plumage. But it also involves the most evil, maniacal, sadistic king ever. He rises up from being completely no one to ruling over this entire land with nothing but hatred and evil. And he was a sickening and fascinating character. He is not our protagonist. It's not him you're supposed to love. But, and then the third one, which just came out this last year, was Bitter Blue, which involves characters from Graceling and characters from Fire, specifically the daughter of the evil, sadistic king, and how she must rectify all of the damage that he's done to their kingdom. All of them have fantastic and wonderful and just sympathetic characters, with the exception of the evil king. He's just evil. There is a smidge of romance, which sometimes can turn off the boys, but there is enough. I mean, she has the grace of killing. I mean, really? How could you go wrong? I'm going to move on to some historical fiction. This is Bloody Jack, which has also not been published within the past year, so it is also out in paperback. It's by L.A. Meyer, and it is the first of 10. 10! You have a whole bunch of giving to do. 10 books about Jackie Faber, who is a little scrap of Cockney goodness, who is leading a horrible existence on the wharves of London when she realizes that if she stays there much longer as a street urchin, she will probably not exist for any time longer. So, being as tiny as she wraps herself up and becomes a ship's boy and sets off around the world. And this entire series involves Jackie getting into crazy scrapes and falling for beautiful men, and then getting into crazy scrapes again and getting herself out of them because she's wonderful and witty and brilliant and fun. And there is a good dose of history that goes along with each of these. The latest is Viva Jacquelina, which takes part largely in Spain, and she goes to see Goya, the famous painter. Of course, sets up shop in his studio, naturally. And in fact, if Jackie weren't in quite as many scrapes as she actually is in, I think I wouldn't mind tagging along for a little bit. At least we get the fictionalized version of her exploits. Next, I'm going to move on to a little more on the historically / horror-y side of things. The first I'm going to talk about is actually a set of 2 books. Anna Dressed in Blood and Girl of Nightmares, both with appropriately bloody covers. Those are by Kildare Blake. And Anna is a ghost. Anna is a very vengeful ghost. Anna has killed everyone who has ever visited the house that she inhabits. Killed them in a very bloody and violent manner, until Cass comes around. Cass is a ghost hunter. He dispatches ghosts who are bent on mayhem. He's fairly good at what he does, even though he's about 17 or 18 years old. And then he meets Anna, who is perhaps one of the most self-destructive and just crazy strong ghosts he has ever met. When you think of ghost, I really don't think of crazy strong, but oh, that's her. Obviously, there is some sort of wrong in her past. Amazingly, Anna lets him live. And then there's a sequel. They talk about it as a boy meets girl, girl kills people, how could you not love it story. And then, if we're going to talk about ghosts, we ought to talk about The Name of the Star, which is kind of a mystery / Jack the Ripper / ghost story / I'm going to go to London and live there. She is in boarding school, which is exciting and wonderful, and it starts off in one of the best ways that I'd ever read. I kept on reading the story and then going back and reading a line and going, that's hilarious. Because she just had such a wicked sense of humor about her world. It wasn't one of those, she goes to boarding school and she's nervous and she's frightened of this. No, she chose to go to boarding school. She's excited about this. She is living it up and having such a fantastic time until somebody decides to start murdering people around her boarding school's campus. Oops. And in fact, the murders are mirroring those of Jack the Ripper. And in fact, this is the first in a series. It's The Name of the Star. It's by Maureen Johnson. And if you are wanting a little bit of travel, this takes you to London. But it's also just she's just a fun and great character who happens to see ghosts. I Hunt Killers by Barry Lyga. If you're a guy, if you like serial killers, this is your thing. The tag at the top says, what if the most notorious serial killer in the world was your dad? The kid in this book, his dad is a serial killer. His dad is locked up, but his dad is a serial killer. And he knows way too much about his dad's crimes. In fact, he was probably around for some of his dad's crimes. So when someone starts committing murder in somewhat of the same fashion of dear old dad, he gets a little concerned. He gets a little concerned, especially considering that there are times that he doesn't always remember exactly where he was the night before. And he gets concerned because, well, the media knows all about dear old dad, and the media has followed him around for life. And how quick will they be to assume that he's the one who's taking on his father's place? the beautiful thing about teen books is that all of the dark that involves, there's always a good friend. There's always somebody to lighten the load a little. I don't know, for all of the teen experience and for how deep and dark it can be, there's always a little bit of light involved. This one is definitely a little more gruesome than some, but it's, I don't know, it's kind of a fascinating, really wild read. If you're looking for something that's a little less on the bloody side, The Fault in Our Stars is John Green's latest. This is actually an audiobook, so these are available on audio as well as an actual book format. It's kind of heartbreaking. It's kids meeting in a cancer ward, and it's just the saga of their lives. If you're looking for good, realistic fiction, John Green is your man. He's written a number of really fantastic things, Looking for Alaska, An Abundance of Catherines, Will Grayson, Will Grayson. Yes, I said that twice. That's the name of the title. He is just a master of capturing a voice and being able to put it on the page. And this is just, yes, I would recommend a box of Kleenex, but it's just a really good read. And then a little bit more realism. This one is Pushing the Limits, which is by Katie McGarry. This is the good girl who has problems in her life, meets the bad boy, who may solve some of them. It's, if you've read Perfect Chemistry, if you've read Shakespeare, if you've read anything where the bad boy is actually a good boy at heart, this is going to be your cup of tea. And now I have Lola and the Boy Next Door, which is a companion novel to Anna and the French Kiss. Frankly, if you're going to read them, I would start with Anna, because I think it kind of catapults you into the world of these girls. It's by Stephanie Perkins, and in Anna is sent to boarding school in France, which I think would be fabulous, except her parents, who really don't seem to care a whole lot for her, have sent her far, far away. This one takes us to San Francisco. This is Lola and the Boy Next Door, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It is Lola, the girl with the purple hair. She probably does have purple hair in the book. And Cricket, the guy who lives next door, who's lived next door to her entire life, who is a good guy, who is sweet and wonderful, but they kind of had a little bit of a falling out because his twin sister and Lola had a falling out, and things just haven't always been what they are supposed to be. Well, Cricket and his family have moved back into their old house, and they have to navigate each other and try to figure out how on earth to exist. Both this and Anna I would give to high school girls. They are actually even middle school girls, I think. The content is appropriate. This one, it goes a little further than in Anna, but the romance caption is just, it captures their world. I think that they're just a really sweet and fun, and well, you get to travel without ever leaving your chair. Well, thank you for watching. My name again is Katie Camp. I'm one of the librarians at the Tates Creek Branch Library of the Lexington Public Library. I want to remind you, everything on this table is available at the Lexington Public Library. If we don't have it in hand at the moment, it is available and we can get it for you. Of course, all of these I think are wonderful gift ideas, but if you're looking for something for yourself, come on in. If I haven't touched on something that you're really interested in, come in, talk to us. This is what we do. This is what we read. We're very interested in, well, literature for all ages, teens, children, adults, babies, even, well, probably not your dog. But this is what we do, and we love talking about books. So come visit us, and thank you very much.